The anime begins with the protagonist, Prince Lloyd, recalling his past life as a sorcerer. Despite not being born into a magical bloodline and lacking natural aptitude, he had a deep love for magic and dedicated himself to its study. Unfortunately, he died with the regret of not having perfected his magical abilities. Lloyd reincarnated as the 7th Prince of the Kingdom of Saloum, with all his memories from his previous life intact. Everyone becomes happy at his birth. He tries to perform magic. Some years later, he was hiding from maids of kingdoms and ran away by fooling guards. The guards discuss how extraordinary the 7th Prince is because he started speaking soon after his birth. Instead of picture books, he reads spell books. One of the guards believes Prince Lloyd is the father of magic. Lloyd arrives at the library to read books to discover more magic abilities. He was glad to read books, but the maid, Silpha, approached him and took the book from his hand. He then goes for sword practice with her, as he was born into the royal family and has to learn everything. Silpha, who has been in charge of his education since his birth, told him how it is necessary to practice swordsmanship. While practicing, he was using magic to control her moves. He was cheating because he wanted to save time for reading. He uses different techniques to defeat her, but as soon as he uses his final attack, she defeats him, revealing that she already knew he was cheating. However, she is happy to see him using 2 different spells at the same time. Later, she took him for a bath in the kingdom pool, where other maids were also taking baths. He wants to do it by himself, but she believes if she leaves him alone, he will visit the library instead of taking a bath. The other maids try to scare him by telling him that there is a demon captured in the library. His name was Grimoire. They state that the demon is sealed in the book. Silpha finds it a tale and makes sure Prince Lloyd is not afraid of such stories. The maids begin fighting each other over the story, while Lloyd makes it out of the pool, as he is happy that there is another library in the kingdom's basement. At night, Lloyd arrives in the basement in search of a library. He casts an invisible spell and arrives at the library door without getting caught by guards at the entrance. However, the library door is closed by the magic of strong mages, which makes it difficult to cross. However, he breaks the barrier in a single attack. He is excited about reading books. He takes out one book and sits down to read it when a book in which the grimoire was sealed arrives in front of him. Grimoire introduces himself and asks for his introduction. He asks Lloyd to unseal the book, and he will teach him ancient magic. As soon as he hears about learning magic, he casts a spell and opens the book. As soon as he comes out of the book, he performs magic to capture the boy, but it has no effect on him, and he gets fascinated by the demon's magic. Grimoire performs magic on him to kill him, but he uses it to learn magic spells, which frustrates Grimoire. Meanwhile, Lloyd launches an attack on Demon to see his defensive skills, but he fails to defend himself and considers his defeat. He calls Lloyd a master, as he has not seen such a powerful mage before. Lloyd restores the library, which was destroyed during their attacks. He converts Grimoire into a small animal, which is easy to carry with him in the palace. Grimoire suggests calling him by his nickname, Grim. Lloyd is in the library with Grim and reading a book when his elder brother Albert arrives to meet him. Grim hides behind the bookshelves. Albert takes him to the shooting gallery to train his magic and performs simple fireball spells at the targets. Lloyd also uses his fireballs but feigns low accuracy by only hitting the sides of each target. Albert seems to notice Lloyd's scheme and takes his entourage away so Lloyd can practice his magic alone. Lloyd, filled with excitement, decides to put his newfound magical skills to the test after his duel with Grim. He absorbs Grim into his hand and tries to combine their powers to cast a spell stack. However, Grim is not familiar with how spell stacks work and is unable to understand the concept. But Lloyd doesn't let this setback discourage him. He takes control of Grim's mouth and recites 2 different spell stacks, unleashing a tremendously powerful attack into the sky. In Albert's chamber, his attendants express their confusion about his desire to be near Lloyd, who is not in line for the throne. Albert reveals his belief Lloyd possesses exceptional magical abilities and has the potential to become the highly respected Grand Sage. The group is taken aback by this revelation but acknowledges that forming a bond with Lloyd could bring advantages. As they gaze outside, they observe that the sky has ominously turned dark. At the grounds, Grim is completely amazed by Lloyd's astonishing magical prowess. The spell that Lloyd cast created a massive hole in the sky, revealing a glimpse of the cosmos, but it quickly returned to normal. In a brief scene, Grim takes care of Lloyd, showing his concern for him. Sometime later, Lloyd is reading the newspaper in the library to kill some time. Grim reads the news aloud, sharing the story about the hole in the sky. When Grim is surprised that he is reading the papers, Lloyd mentions that he has already read every book that is in the library. While reading the paper, he comes across an article about a certain rank adventurer having conquered a dungeon, which piques his interest, causing him to want to find a dungeon. However, Grimm stops him, claiming that even though he has been restricting himself since the last incident, the 7th Prince shouldn't just be wondering about it. To avoid raising any suspicions, he creates a clone of himself and conceals Grimm within it. Sneaking out of the castle, Lloyd embarks on a quest to find a dungeon. Along the way, he comes across Tao, an accomplished adventurer ranked a Tao is currently engaged in battling a group of orcs. After Lloyd disguises himself as Robert by combining his appearance with Albert's appearance, the two exchange greetings and decide to team up for a dungeon run. Tao successfully defeats the enemies and attempts to impress Lloyd, whom she knows as Robert. As they navigate through the dungeon, Lloyd learns the technique of Kai breathing from Tao during their journey. Eventually, they reach the boss's room. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Silpha arrives in search of Lloyd but instead encounters Grimm inside Lloyd's clone. In the dungeon, Tao effortlessly defeats the Grey Wolf boss monster, and together they proceed to open the treasure chest. Lloyd quickly gets Tao to safety from the booby-trapped treasure chest, after which a dangerous lick appears. Tao and Lloyd face the appearance of a lick. As the lick appeared before them, Lloyd questioned the nature of this monstrous creature while Tao, visibly nervous, attempted to protect him. She realizes that she is not a match for such a powerful girl. She fights with Lick to get more time for Lloyd to escape. She managed to push Lloyd away to safety, prompting him to wonder about her actions and unsuccessfully attempt to contact Grimm for a report. In the dungeon, after sending Lloyd away, Tao defends against the Lick's onslaught, utilizing her Kai techniques to the best of her abilities. The light easily penetrates her defenses. She decides to leave when she finds herself no match for him, but he criticizes her Kai techniques as weak. She is surprised to see that he can speak. He tells her he has eaten some other adventurers with these techniques and gained their skills and power. However, he will not eat her, as she is not worthy, but he wants to eat Robert because he sees his extraordinary skills. Angered, Tao launches a powerful Kai blast, shattering the monster's barrier, but draining her strength in the process. He tells him she has practiced the Kai technique since age 5, so he cannot win from her. However, the Lick remains unscathed and prepares to strike again. Just in the nick of time, Lloyd rushes in to protect Tao from the Lick's assault by creating a barrier. Utilizing the Kai techniques he learned from Tao earlier, Lloyd confronts the Lick in a fierce battle. He first learns Lick's attack abilities and techniques. Lick attacks him, but due to his powerful barrier, the attack fails. He merges Kai with his magical abilities to unleash devastating attacks. He takes air inside his lungs to accelerate the full sprint spell, but finds a barrier in the way. Through a series of mighty Kai slashes, Lloyd breaks through the Lick's defensive barrier and ultimately defeats the creature. Following the battle, Tao and Lloyd open the treasure box in the dungeon. They find an old, worn knife infused with mana. She thinks they have wasted their time on an ordinary knife. Lloyd wants to take it, and after accepting the weapon, he recognizes its potential. As the dungeon begins to collapse, Lloyd explains about the dungeon when Tao wants them to escape. Otherwise, they will die. He quickly grabs a part of the treasure box, identified as the dungeon core. After getting out, they see the dungeon collapse, and Lloyd believes the dungeon will gain strength under the earth and will come out again. He bids farewell to Tao and returns home. Lloyd delves into the investigation of the knife he obtained from the dungeon and acquires knowledge of enchantment magic. He gathers all the required ingredients to create mana essence, and then seeks out his older brother Albert for weapons to enchant. Albert generously provides Lloyd with a total of 120 weapons, out of which he successfully enchants 70, infusing them with formidable and potent enchantments. Albert is impressed by Lloyd's skills and agrees to join him on a thrilling monster hunt to put the newly enchanted weapons to the test. Lloyd eagerly accepts Albert's invitation and is excited for the adventure. Lloyd, Albert, and Silpha take the carriage with guards and leave the city for the monster hunt. Lloyd dozes off on Albert's shoulder as Silpha directs the carriage towards the forest. Upon reaching the forest, Lloyd wakes up and shows his excitement for going out of the city for the first time. Albert asks Silpha about her feelings for Lloyd. She replies that she is only his teacher, and there is nothing more than that. Arriving in the forest, Lloyd eagerly inquires about the whereabouts of the monsters. The group engages in conversation until they are suddenly ambushed by armed kobolds. Lloyd has sensed the monsters before their arrival through the skills he has learned from Tao. However, their knights swiftly dispatch the attackers using the enchanted weapons crafted by Lloyd, which are now incredibly sharp and powerful. Everyone is surprised at the sharpness of the weapons. Albert appreciates Lloyd for creating sharp weapons. As they bask in the glory of their triumph, a kobold cunningly tries to launch a surprise attack on Lloyd. However, Tao swiftly intervenes, sensing Robert's presence from Lloyd. She arrives near him, unaware that Lloyd is, in fact, Robert. Tao observes the striking resemblance between Lloyd's appearance and mannerisms to those of Robert. Their conversation is interrupted by Silpha. She thanks her for her help but warns her to stay away from the prince. Tao does not like her tone and tells her that a monster is behind her. Albert interferes to deal with the situation. In a gesture of goodwill, Albert extends an invitation to Tao to join them at their camp near the lake, an offer that she graciously accepts. As the night descends upon them, Albert and Tao engage in conversation and start to get to know each other at the camp. She is surprised to learn Albert is a prince and apologizes for her early rude behavior. Meanwhile, Lloyd, attempting to avoid Tao, accidentally stumbles upon Silpha as she changes inside her tent. She is sleeping in his tent because she is the only one here to protect him. Just as Tao enters the tent in search of Lloyd, a heated argument erupts between Silpha and Tao when she sees Silpha close to him. The argument catches the attention of the nearby knights. Feeling uneasy about the situation, Lloyd confides in Albert, who lightens the mood with a humorous warning about the complexities of relationships with women. While they are deep in conversation, they suddenly become aware of a monstrous creature infiltrating their camp. The group swiftly engages in battle, utilizing the power of Lloyd's enchanted swords and Albert's formidable magic skills to fend off the menacing beasts. However, their momentary victory is cut short when the defeated monsters inexplicably come back to life, all thanks to a demon named Pazuzu. It is revealed that Pazuzu had been sealed within the shrine that Tao had intended to repair. Grimm enlightens Lloyd about Pazuzu's ability to manipulate monsters through the process of mana transmutation, which piques Lloyd's curiosity and sparks his desire to learn this technique. The knights engage in a fierce battle against Pazuzu's wolves, with Silpha unleashing her inner strength and fury upon the demon when he mocks Lloyd. Driven by her determination and fueled by Pazuzu's relentless taunts, Silpha delivers devastating attacks, ultimately defeating the demon and ensuring the safety of the group. Standing triumphantly over the defeated Pazuzu, Silpha cuts him out from inside the monster wolf, solidifying their victory. The battle is going on against Pazuzu, the demon. Silpha, after using her strength and skills, appears to gain the upper hand against the pack of werewolves and Pazuzu. They kill Pazuzu's minions, which makes him furious as it takes years to raise them, and they just kill them in one attack. However, Pazuzu emits a powerful miasma that overwhelms the knights, leaving Silpha and Tao unable to fight back. He flies above and attacks Tao, capturing her leg. He believes she is using a breathing technique, which she accepts. She suddenly uses an earthquake attack, which gives them a chance to free herself from him. Pazuzu regenerates and captures her in his mouth, wanting to make her his minions. She suddenly feels Robert's scent and finds he is near and will save her. The demon throws her away and loses consciousness. Lloyd wakes up and sees Silpha and Tao. With his comrades incapacitated, Lloyd seizes the opportunity to intervene. Pazuzu tells him that he made minions by killing their parents and leaving no choice for them. He also used his miasma on them. Suddenly, while talking, Pazuzu realizes that Lloyd is moving in his miasma, which surprises him. On asking, Lloyd tells him he doesn't know. Demon notices Grimm and makes fun of him for serving humans and changing his appearance like a stuffed toy. Lloyd takes the opportunity to test his magic on them. He casts some spells that create flowers everywhere, and he takes away Pazuzu's spell. Pazuzu's minions are obeying him. Demon uses his miasma to take out his minions from Lloyd's magic, but it fails. He employs numerous barrier spells in an attempt to ensnare Pazuzu, who becomes frightened and attempts to escape. However, Lloyd chases him when the demon tries to run away. Prince creates so many spells at the same time, which impresses Grimm. After a short chase, Lloyd successfully captures Pazuzu within a barrier. Intrigued by the idea that magic cannot kill demons, Lloyd decides to unleash a series of extremely potent elemental spell stacks on Pazuzu within the barrier. Pazuzu is scared of Lloyd, as he has not expected it from him. The demon tries to have a deal with the prince, but he doesn't accept his offers. As Lloyd's spells take effect, Pazuzu begins to disintegrate slowly, while Grimm cunningly absorbs his soul. Lloyd informs the others that a mage named Robert came to their aid and saved them from the demon, prompting Albert to report this to the king. Meanwhile, Tao set off searching for Robert. Impressed by Lloyd's exceptional enchantments of the swords, Albert suggests that Lloyd should be rewarded and even considered for succession to the throne. However, when the king inquires about Lloyd's willingness to accept such a position, Lloyd immediately declines. The king and Albert acknowledge Lloyd's greatness, concluding that he may be too exceptional to be a mere king. Later that day, Lloyd plays with a bear-wolf pup that had followed them from the forest, which he named Shiro. Lloyd has begun training Shiro the bear-wolf. Lloyd showed Slifer his progress in training Shiro the bear-wolf. He explains that Shiro can understand basic commands but struggles with more complex instructions. He shows how Shiro reacts when he writes to tell him complex commands. Desperate for a solution, Lloyd and Slifer decide to seek advice from someone knowledgeable about magic beasts. They remember Alice de Saloum, Lloyd's sister and the 6th princess of the kingdom of Saloum. She can read and teach beasts. They head to the tower. Upon arriving at Ali's tower, they are greeted by a menagerie of animals and magic beasts. Alice is overjoyed to see her brother. She warmly welcomes him with hugs and affection and attributes her ability to communicate with beasts to the power of love rather than mana. He introduces her to Shiro, and she starts playing with him. Ali's maid serves them tea, and Silpha decides to leave as she thinks Alice cannot help them. But Lloyd wants to stay a little longer. He asks Alice to show them her powerful and strongest monster. She calls Fenrir, whose name is Luru, and she introduces him to them. As they talk about how Alice trains the beasts, Lloyd suddenly realizes that she has been sending mana signals accompanied by visual instructions to them. This discovery becomes a turning point in Shiro's training, allowing Lloyd to make significant progress. She tells him she treats her animals with love, so he should use love in his training. Love will help in understanding any kind of animal. Lloyd is thankful for Ali's assistance and manages to replicate her technique successfully. As a result, Alice and her pets show even more affectionate gestures towards Lloyd. He then hugs Silpha, asking them to teach him more love. By using princess techniques, he has successfully taught Shiro difficult commands, which surprised everyone. On the way back home, Silpha suggests Lloyd practice swords today, but Albert intervenes to spare Lloyd from further sword training with Slifer. He tells her that he has to talk about something with little brother. Albert introduces Lloyd to their brother, Diane de Saloum, who is the 4th prince. Diane shows a keen interest in Lloyd's enchanted swords and is impressed by his skills. Excited about the prospect, Diane suggests collaborating with Lloyd to create a spellbound sword. However, their early attempts are hindered by Diane's mana essence, which is of poor quality. After realizing the problem, Lloyd decides to acquire better ingredients for the mana essence. To do so, he and Slifer join the Adventurers Guild and prepare for a dungeon expedition. During the assessment, Lloyd tries to conceal his magical abilities, but surprisingly, he achieves an A rank in magic and an overall E rank. It is then revealed that Silpha is an A rank adventurer as well. However, since dungeon raids require at least one B rank adventurer, Lloyd and Silpha team up with Tao, an active A rank adventurer. As they embark on the dungeon expedition, Diane and Albert have a conversation at the smithy about the imminent war that threatens their land. They express concern that Lloyd might not return in time with the materials needed to make the swords useful in the conflict. However, to their relief, Lloyd manages to retrieve the necessary materials and makes a timely return. With the combined efforts of the 2 princes, they successfully create a powerful spellbound sword. The subsequent demonstration showcases the sword's immense power. Diane and Lloyd mass-produce the swords with adjusted attack power for soldiers to use. Lloyd senses a suspicious presence in the garden. Lloyd meets a girl named Ren, whose face is covered. He asks her to have a little chat. She uses the magic of flowers, and he senses that magic contains poison. She did not want to use it on a child but was left with no option. He falls to the ground as he smells. She reveals that there is nothing that can purify his poison. He realizes some people are born with a special type of magic called blight. She accepts that she is blighted. Since her birth, she has been emitting poison. She surprises him by breaking his barrier, which she has weakened by her poison. She has used a little poison on him just to make him weak and leave. He believes she is a member of the Assassin's Guild, so he decides to go there and inform Grimm. He recalls his discussion with Silpha, who told him about the guild and its 6 members, who are good at hiding their presence. By following her scent, she arrives at the place. Meanwhile, Ren meets other group members. Her group is angry at her for not killing Lloyd, but she believes he was a kid. They tell him not to behave like their long-gone leader, Jade, but she is sure he will come back. They sense someone's presence and find Lloyd there. He arrives in front of them, and the assassins decide to kill him, as they know about their guild's location. The group begins fighting him one by one. He tries to learn their attacks and defensive skills. Babylon comes first to show his skills. His body is flexible, and he easily attacks him, but Lloyd dodges his attacks. He then fights another member, Crow, but successfully avoids injury. He overcomes their curse with his spells, surprising everyone. Galileo has spider abilities, and his web sticks with Lloyd. Thirdly, he fights with Talia, who is pain-blighted. Talia gives him a cut on his thigh, but everyone gets shocked when he heals it in seconds. Lloyd now gets ready to fight them with his swords, using the skills he learned from Silpha, which surprises everyone. He now wants to see their defensive skills. The whole group attacks him at the same time, but he defeats them one by one. While fighting, Lloyd learns that they are not controlling their powers, and Galileo tells him their power is under demonic control. However, Lloyd uses his power to free their power from demonic control, and heals all of them. The group considers Lloyd as part of them and begins preparing for the welcome party, but Ren still does not consider him their member and believes they are preparing weapons to launch a war on them. He makes it clear they are making swords for Spellbound, not to attack them. Galileo begins telling him the story of how they became the Assassin Guild. They had a leader, Jade, the Shadow Wolf. He always explores different locations. One day he brings a coin and decides to use it as an emblem of their guild, leaving it everywhere they go. Suddenly, he teleports and never comes back. They are now preparing to fight the Lord of the Lords. Silpha arrives in the guild, finds out about the war on notepaper, and takes it to Albert. They believe the guild has kidnapped Lloyd. Albert decides to deal with the situation peacefully. Thanks for watching. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next part.